What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango, and joining me, as always, are Callum Wiggins.
Hello.
And Robert DeFelice.
Howdy ho.
Howdy ho, neighborinos. We are talking TLC 2018, tables, ladders, and chairs. Oh my god, this is a big fucking card. This is 12 matches right now, which is just about what WrestleMania has, which is insane because this is not a WrestleMania sized card. So they are clearly going to just run through these on the pay-per-view, or there's going to be something that happens that makes it to where a couple of these matches are not actually matches. But we're going to treat this as if every single one of them is a legitimate match and that there isn't no combination kind of thing going on because, at least as far as we know right now, they plan on putting 12 matches on the card. I have no idea how they're going to do this, but we can assume, at the very least, that on the pre-show, one of the matches will be the Cruiserweight Championship match between Buddy Murphy defending against Cedric Alexander because they always put 205 Live on the pre-show. For some reason, they just do not like having them on the main card. I would rather that not be on the pre-show, and I'd rather something else be on there that we'll talk about a little bit later, which is the tables match. However, Cruiserweights are fantastic in my mind, and Buddy Murphy and Cedric Alexander are guaranteed to have a good match, but I honestly feel like this is kind of a blah situation. They've had their fight. Murphy won, and Murphy actually beat Mustafa Ali, so now we're just kind of going back to Cedric. Seems kind of bland.
I think that this is all part of the let's use the Cruiserweight guys more mentality, because last night on SmackDown, we had Mustafa Ali in the ring with Daniel Bryan, and Leo Rush and Drake Maverick have been doing more. I think they just want to do more with the Cruiserweights. And I disagree with you 100% as far as the tables match being on the pre-show, but I would like to see this match get a shot at being on the main card like last month's Cruiserweight title match did, because it was actually a really good match. Even though a lot of the response I got was that nobody cares because it's the Cruiserweights, I thought it was a really good match.
It's almost always a good match, that's the thing. So I know that this will be good. It's just that it doesn't have a whole lot of oomph to it. So that's why I'm okay with this being on the pre-show.
Yeah, the match itself will be good. The reason I don't care too much is because Cedric Alexander's involved in it. He's just bland. He's been bland all year. And I'd prefer... It's hard to say because even though I sparingly watch 205 Live, I still keep up with it enough. And I don't really know any babyfaces besides Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali that are really prominent enough to deserve a championship opportunity right now.
Yeah, right now there really isn't any, even though they can kind of start to build towards the Brian Kendrick a little bit.
Yeah, so there's like Brian Kendrick and Akira Tozawa potentially, but Hideo Itami's heel, Tony Nese's heel, Drew Gulak's heel, Jack Gallagher's heel,
Mike Bennett.
Mike Bennett is heel, TJP is heel,
Daivari,
who's come back, is now heel as well. So it's just like you need to start building up some strong baby faces on that brand. But that's pretty much the case with basically everywhere in WWE. So why would 205 Live be any different? But yeah, so I just see Buddy Murphy retaining in this match because even though I think this title needs to go on a babyface pretty soon, just because there's so many heels to have matches with, it just doesn't make sense to give Alexander the title back because that title reign wasn't very good, in my opinion.
if you guys had to venture a guess right now, what do you think's the WrestleMania match?
For the Cruiserweights?
Yeah.
I would say by that point, Ali's won the championship. And it will be Mustafa Ali versus
Mike Bennett.
I'd go Hideo Itami.
I really wish they would have jumped Ricochet.
Yeah.
up 205 Live. It's hard to say because I almost made the statement of I wish Roderick Strong would have stayed. And I love what they're doing with Roderick on NXT, so not necessarily, but I also think Roderick would have been a good Dean Malenko type cruiserweight to anchor the division against like a Mustafa Ali or even, an up-and-coming Ricochet. As it stands right now, I think Mustafa Ali, if he's still on the brand and not a permanent SmackDown fixture, should be in that match, and he should be defending it against maybe a Tony Nese. Somebody who can really go.
I'm kind of the opinion that the reason why they're testing out a lot of cruiserweights right now is because they eventually plan to can the entire show, and they're just testing out which ones are going to come onto the main roster.
I kind of think that they're doing the same. Well, I mean, it sort of depends here because Mixed Match Challenge is over now, and that frees up Tuesdays again. So they could do, 205 Live airs before SmackDown or something like that. I don't know if they will necessarily do something like that because they seem to have invested a little bit in this whole Wednesday type thing. And Wednesday used to have NXT UK, NXT 205 Live, and the Mae Young Classic. And we don't have the Mae Young Classic anymore too. And eventually they're going to catch up on NXT UK. And I don't think that we're going to keep this double episode thing going up until, like late 2019 or anything like that. But the next set of their tapings, I think, might be like February or so. And they've got enough episodes now that they can run through that and then start going into one shot kind of things. But maybe Wednesday is just NXT and NXT UK. Maybe Tuesdays or 205 Live again. Or maybe they just get rid of 205 Live, keep the Cruiserweight Championship as like some roaming title. And that's why the Lucha House Party are like a Monday Night Raw tag team now, because they're just going to be a tag team. And if you are under 205 pounds, then you can compete for the Cruiserweight title, depending on which brand you are. It doesn't really matter, that kind of a thing or something like that. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if the only plan that they have for WrestleMania right now is just to do a triple threat. Buddy Murphy, Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali. Because those are the three people that they've been revolving around for a long time.
So I don't think that the brand is going anywhere. I think they have a lot invested into the brand, and I think it's a really cool place for cruiserweights to go. It's just what's happening is not their fault. It's the oversaturation of content. And I like the Wednesday night thing too, where it's, you don't like Raw. Wednesday nights are like the Bizarro Raw, where it's 3 hours of, just pure wrestling. And I think it's a good fit, and you can always binge 205 Live. I don't think the brand is going anywhere, but I do think they need to build a strong babyface, because Cedric Alexander held the belt for a while, but he is very bland. And I haven't been like thoroughly invested in the Cruiserweight title since it was, sucks to say, but since it was like Neville and Enzo, and Enzo's terrible. So, I'd hate for that to be like the lasting big impression of the Cruiserweights.
Well, as far as predictions go, I'm going Buddy Murphy retaining here. How about you guys?
Buddy Murphy better retain. Cedric Alexander needs to step aside for a while.
Yeah, I'm going Buddy Murphy as well.
So we mentioned that tables match. I think that if any other match gets bumped to the pre-show, this could be one of them, but maybe not necessarily.
Why do you hate Ruby Riott? What has she done to you?
She broke my dad's glasses.
Oh.
Apparently that's the end of the world. I will give credit, though. Natalya and Ruby Riott haven't had a whole lot of stuff going on with this feud that have really sold me, yet they did introduce an element that I thought was really kind of interesting, which was the little sticker thing on the table of Jim Neidhart. Like, that's a fun little thing to it. It's not going to make me give a shit in the grand scheme of things, because really this is just sort of a Monday Night Raw feud that I don't care about that's suddenly getting a pay-per-view match. And given that we don't have the United States Championship on the card again, which is fucking Shinsuke Nakamura, something about that dude, they do not give a shit about him. And the United States title has been a complete afterthought since June. We don't have the Hardy and Samoa Joe thing, which to me is not the most grandiose feud in the world either. And the horrible state of the Raw Tag Team Championship situation, you know, those are three matches that I think still are more important than the Natalya and Ruby Riott thing, but they had to put a tables match on, and they had to do a chairs match, and they had to do a ladder match, and it's just this stupid thing that's... I hate this fucking pay-per-view when it comes to that.
Well, Tony, we hear you, and we're going to make it a 15-match card and add those 3 matches that you were just talking about.
Yeah, well, hey, you never know. They have an overrun. They could do it. Natalya has to win this, pretty much, right? Or else they're just going to be like, I don't know, kind of like spitting on the whole Jim Neidhart thing. She dedicated the match to her dad, you know?
Yeah, Natalya has to win, and this is one match where I really disagree with you. I think, while it hasn't been the most exciting, it's at least been a feud that makes sense as to why they're having a tables match, and it, you know, they added that element of the whole Jim Neidhart embedded table, and I think it's really good because unlike 90% of the matches on this card, the gimmick actually means something. And they tried hard, you know? Obviously, it's controversial to some people. I don't necessarily agree. I think, of course, every family member signed off on it. And
well,
I think
Jim didn't.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. He didn't. But I'm sure he would have been fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, let me take that distasteful remark and couple it with, this is probably the most over Jim Neidhart's ever been. But, you know, I think it's a really good match.
It sucks. No, it's really, this is such a tasteless, poorly put together. Like, it's the fact I don't mind the fact that it's based around her dead dad. It's just like, if you're allowed to use it, then go ahead. Just be as crass as you like. I mean, you're still exploiting Roman Reigns' leukemia thing a few months onwards, so why not go the whole hog? I'm sure when Vince dies, they're going to make up a load of storylines about how he's left loads of wills and stuff like that, and talk about how they're pissing on his grave and stuff like that. So I'm sure it doesn't matter too much.
That lockbox is going to come back.
Yeah, but it's just how instantaneous it was. Like, oh, you broke a pair of sunglasses that you introduced on the same episode about 20 minutes ago. It's like, oh god, these sunglasses are so important. Why wasn't she wearing sunglasses from the moment that the moment she came back at SummerSlam?
Because they had to promote Total Divas, Callum. Come on.
It just like, it's such a lazy put together storyline. I don't discount the effort that Natalya and Ruby Riott are trying to put in to make this shit palatable, but it's still shit. You're not going to force it on me. I'm still not going to eat it. And it's just going to be and tables matches themselves in their own way are just really boring matches because it's all a load of stalling over, oh, I'm going to suplex you for the table. No, oh, going to get close to slamming you for the table. Oh, no, she just missed or something like that. It's going to be a boring match. I'm not going to be very interested. And I hope it's on the pre-show so I'd have to watch it. It's
the Riott Squad's going to come in and move the table, and then she's got to put all 3 of them through one table with a body splash. And that actually, as I said that out loud, that's the finish.
I hope that this is a 5-minute thing. And that's not because it's the women, if anybody's going to criticize that. I'm actually hoping multiple matches are just, like, quick. And this is just one of those things that I agree with the whole stalling thing. I don't want 15 minutes of Ruby Riott holding on to the ropes so she doesn't get powerbombed through. And Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan planning on suplexing Natalya through it, but she, slips out from underneath them or something like that. Like, I just kind of don't want to see that. And I know that you can tell that Natalya wants this to be, like, a big thing. and that Ruby Riot's like, hey, I'm actually in a feud right now. Like, this is something. But it's just not engaging to me. And this could have been a really good feud, I think, with other people involved, which it's the kind of thing that it's like, you can't have somebody else involved other than Natalya for a story about Jim the Anvil Neidhart's death. But I don't buy Natalya ever when it comes to promos and stuff.
No, she's a very bad actress. And to go back to something that you said earlier about like the fact that she'd dedicated the match to Jim Neidhart, and that obviously means she's winning. It just sends me back to flashbacks of Davey Boy Smith dedicating the match to his sister, I think, that had cancer.
Yeah,
and then Michaels beat him for the European Championship because obviously Shawn Michaels is such a tool. I don't think Ruby Riot's kind of the same.
Yeah, I was gonna say Ruby Riott is no
as
Shawn Michaels in '97.
Yeah. So I'm hoping Natalya wins this one at the very least to give some semblance of a happy ending to this dog shit feud.
So I'm gonna speak out of both sides of my mouth here and say, well, I think this feud was built up as greatly as it could be, and they gave them a reason for having a tables match. Tables matches, sans the Dudleys, are retarded, and they've never made sense outside of the Dudley Boys, because tables matches were never a thing before the Dudley Boys. It's like, you don't see people doing casket matches without Kane or The Undertaker. I don't know. I agree with you guys on the whole stalling thing, and I think the only time a table's ever been used successfully was when you wanted to cost John Cena the championship or a victory without having to beat him.
That was one of my biggest rants, was when that fucking happened with Sheamus. Ugh.
And the only time it's ever been used positively is to beat the Big Show with Cody Rhodes, and Big Show had a wonderful look on his face.
And I loved that.
Yeah, I think the women are going to try hard. I'm sad that the angle is around Neidhart, because that means Ruby Riott has to lose. And I think Ruby Riott is tremendous and should be moving towards a championship. And when it comes to Ruby Riott and the Riott Squad, much like Sasha and Bayley, I think tag team titles will help them because it'll give them something to fight for. Because right now, as long as Ronda Rousey is on top, that Raw Women's Championship is locked up for huge players like Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Nia Jax. And I don't know. I feel bad for the women that are working hard underneath all of that.
I still just do not like the Riott Squad. I want them to split up so bad. Whether or not there's a women's tag team title thing or not, I don't want them fighting for the tag titles to begin with. I just want Liv Morgan to go back to being kind of a pain in the ass Jersey chick.
No.
I want Ruby Riott to try to do her own thing, and I want Sarah Logan to be a Viking. That's it.
So what, you just make her valet for the War Raiders?
Yeah, why not? Her husband's in there. Just do it. And that makes her not have to do the whole Southern accent thing, too. So, well, she'll probably still have the accent, but
that's not how she speaks?
No, that's just how she speaks because she's from the South, but still. Maybe she doesn't talk if she's a Viking. You know? Let's see what we should go with next. Well, we're talking tables match, so let's go to chairs match. Randy Orton is going to fight Rey Mysterio, and this is in a similar boat to the whole tables match thing, where they introduced the table because Natalya got put through a table, so then they're like, hey, tables match. They do the same thing every year. It's like, you just happen to start fighting with a certain weapon a couple days beforehand or something, so that means that you're going to have this match. And Randy Orton and Rey Mysterio have had this thing going on for a little bit where Randy Orton uses a chair and he tries to like break Mysterio's windpipe or something. So at least that's justified, but I will go on this diatribe every single time that they book this. Chairs match is not a gimmick. Neither is a kendo stick match. There are no DQ matches. That's it. And if you mean to tell me that a chairs match is a match where chairs are legal and nothing else is, then you open up the idea of disqualifications and countouts. And they don't ever really do that stuff. Like, you don't see the referee counting for them on the outside. And it's not a no count out, no whatever. Like, they don't specify that kind of a thing. And if you mean to tell me that, it is just a no DQ match, but they only focus on chairs, the only reason why they do that is because it's scripted. Any regular fight would be, okay, so now I can use weapons? All right, well, I'm going to use any fucking weapon I can think of. That's just the pure logic behind it. And I hate chairs match ideas because they just become, I grabbed the chair and you grabbed the chair, and then we're going to throw a bunch of chairs in the ring, and then we're going to do a move on a chair and whatever like that. And you can't do chair shots to the head anymore, and I don't think they should necessarily do that anymore either. But then again, if you could put your hand up and all that too, then it's a whole other argument. But I don't want to watch a match of Randy Orton hitting Rey Mysterio in the back with a chair and then doing that lame, like, oh, I got you in the gut thing for 15 minutes. I'd rather just actually see Randy Orton against Rey Mysterio in a regular match. You know?
I don't know if I'd go so far as to say I'd want to see them in a regular match because it's got Randy Orton in it. So I'm fine with, I don't really want a 15-minute match where 10 minutes is him having Rey Mysterio in a headlock.
Well, to be fair, I'd rather see Rey Mysterio beating Shinsuke Nakamura for the United States title.
True.
So.
I mean, I'd find it quite funny if, like, in this match, Randy Orton manages to wrap a chair around Mysterio's neck and then just puts him in a headlock with the chair wrapped around his neck, just to increase the pressure. If he does that, then I'll immediately say Randy Orton's the greatest wrestler of all time and just bow to him. But I don't think that is going to happen. I think it is going to be a lot of chair shots to the back, chair shots to the gut. I assume we'll have something where Randy Orton's seated in the chair, Mysterio hits a seating center on, well, he's sitting on there just to, you know, in real life actually lessen the impact, but it's on a chair so people think it looks cool. So all that stuff. And I don't know how it's going. This is one of the ones where I just don't know how it's going to go in terms of who's going to win, because they've been doing a lot of Randy Orton this year, but it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Like, is he going to be fighting for a championship at some point soon? Or is he just going to be sitting around mid-purgatory just picking up people like Mysterio or Jeff Hardy or whoever and just beating them up, and that's kind of his thing now? But
I'm assuming Orton Styles at WrestleMania.
That's where I'm going with it too.
Well, that would be a good way of going for it. But I would say for this one, you could give a win to Mysterio just to build up a little bit more of momentum for him, because he hasn't really caught fire since returning yet.
Was there a way that he could do an RKO on the chair without it not just looking like he's throwing himself onto a chair?
He does it for I think he did it with Cena at one point, where you wrap, again, you do the chair around your neck, and then he essentially drops him while the chair's wrapped around the neck. So it's not like he lands face first or back first on the chair. It's
I thought he did it where it's the chair is seated, and
oh yeah, he does that as well.
The running RKO. Yeah, I like that one.
Chair's seated. He did it to Cena a couple of times in their feud and stuff like that.
So I do think you're gonna get the tease of, like, I'm gonna hit him in the head with the chair, and that'll lead to the drop kick to the knee. You know, oh, he somehow landed. And this is the only thing I hate about Mysterio matches, because they always somehow land in the middle rope when they're fighting Mysterio. It's like, God, how is it possible that always happens? And then, 619, I do think when people are against Randy and they jump, they're stupid, because he always somehow catches them in an RKO. And I think that's how it's going to end here. RKO off the 619, 1, 2, 3.
Nah, I could see that. I mean, it's kind of one of those situations where you could flip a coin and it doesn't really matter. If Mysterio wins, he's building towards the United States title match. If Orton wins, he's building towards the Styles match.
I think it does matter, because Mysterio can lose and he's just kind of Rey Mysterio right now. So, like, you'll give him the United States title anyway because he's Rey Mysterio, and people will forgive that.
Yeah, I'd rather Orton win, and I hope that Orton wins.
But Tony's right, no one cares.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's just sort of like, it's just there.
But if we're going to go that route, then we could say TLC preview. No one cares. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, it's kind of what a lot of this is.
We should have saved a lot of time at this.
I mean, there's a potential that a lot of things can be kind of important on this card, but half of it's not important. Like, really, does it matter if the Bar, the Usos, or the New Day come out as tag team champions? We know that they don't care about the tag team division.
No, but I think it'll at least be one of the better matches on the show.
The triple threat?
Yeah.
Actually, let's just go ahead and talk about that one. Well, real quick.
I thought that's where you're going with it, but yeah, we're all going to Orton, I think.
Calvin, you're going to Orton too?
No, Mysterio. Just
all right, there you go.
I'll be different, and nobody cares. So
no. So just mentioned it a minute ago. The triple threat match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship is Usos New Day challenging the Bar. Here's the thing about the SmackDown Tag Team division. It's exactly the same as what it was last year, essentially, because the Usos and the New Day are running ship, and even though the Bar are the tag team champions right now, it's still just kind of, let's just have these tag teams fight, and it doesn't really matter what's going on. And really, I kind of assume that at WrestleMania, we're still going to get the exact same thing. It's just going to be the Usos, the New Day, the Bar, and Sanity in a match, unless they're building this whole Miz and Shane McMahon thing where they get a run with the tag team titles, and then they're going to suddenly give a shit because Shane McMahon will be involved. So I almost keep going back and forth between, do I want Shane McMahon versus The Miz? Not really. But do I want Shane McMahon and The Miz as tag team champions? Oh, not really. Which is the better option? Do you get that fatal 4-way or the 4-man fatal? Right, I guess it would be the 8-man fatal. And nobody cares and it's on the pre-show? Or do you go with the Shane McMahon and Miz thing or something? Like, they're not going to do what's the most interesting thing, which is to suddenly build Sanity up to be worth a damn. So I don't know. This is one of those things that really doesn't matter. And it's a triple threat match that technically sort of has no gimmick attached to it, but because it's a triple threat match, they do have the ability to do no DQ rules. Although I wouldn't be shocked at all if they act like that's not the case in this one, where every team just kind of behaves. Because it's WWE, you script it, and people just, it's ignore the plot kind of thing.
Before we move any further, just so that we can end this on a positive note, can we save the women's triple threat for last?
Oh, I don't want to end on a positive note with that then, because I got some gripes about it.
Well, I tried. This match would be so much better if it was just like one of the gimmick matches, just because if you're going to have them just to have them anyway, I'd rather they go to these three teams who work their asses off in everything that they do, and I think you're missing out on a really good opportunity there. It'll be a fine match. We know that these three teams are probably the best three on the main roster, and I think it'll be good, and I think the New Day wins because why not?
There's never really a bad match between these three teams in any sort of circumstance they put together, so you can at least look forward to something good. I do empathise with Tone in the sense that it is basically the same tag team division that it was a year ago, because it's the tag team division is essentially New Day, the Usos, and generic big tag team that they're facing in the meantime, who's holding the championships while they're not holding it. So it was previously
Bludgeon Brothers,
and before that it was just the titles just swapping between the New Day and the Usos. So it can get stale, but they've somehow managed to keep you invested because the New Day are like entertaining most of the time, and the Usos are just, in terms of just pure chemistry, the best tag team. Well, one of the best tag teams in the world, definitely the best in WWE right now. And I think it's about time they had the championships again.
Don't get me wrong, Usos and the New Day are fantastic, and the bar worked out so much better than it seemed like it was originally going to. And I do think that this is going to be one of the better matches of the night. It's just kind of disappointing that it really ultimately doesn't matter all that much. And it's a shame that the tag team division isn't in a better state right now. And I kind of feel like what Rob was saying on the hot tags, where part of me kind of just wants the tag teams division, both the tag team divisions, to kind of combine, and then maybe they'll focus on it because it's only one thing instead of two, because the Raw tag team division is garbage. And the SmackDown one's kind of an afterthought, so it's sort of like they're on like cruise control, kind of. It's like, we know that the Usos and the New Day will deliver, so let's just keep doing that. And that's a shame, because they deserve better.
I heard that thing on the hot tags. I agreed with like your assessment of that. I thought that it would be a good way to at least add some sort of intrigue to the tag team championship if you essentially put it across both brands. And on television, you can only defend it against the brand that it represents. So for the time being, let's say it belongs to SmackDown. So whoever the SmackDown team is that's holding the championships, only on TV defend it against SmackDown teams. But on the pay-per-view, a Raw representative is determined, and then they face each other on pay-per-views. So every pay-per-view match is an inter-brand match, but then they can defend it on TV, but only against people from their own brand.
Yeah, you know that'll go away immediately.
Oh yeah, I know it would, but like, try and be at least slightly optimistic in the sense that that's what they could do. They're not going to do it, but it's what they could do.
Do you remember in 2002 when the Undisputed Champion just traveled? Like, that's kind of how I'm getting with the champions. I'd rather there be just one set of champions, and the champion can travel between all shows because they are the best the company has to offer. And I think that would at least get rid of some of this patronizing with these matches. Like you guys are saying, the tag division is an absolute joke, and it sucks that it's come to this. I don't know. I would really like to see more tag teams get a chance, because combined they have great teams. Got the Usos, the New Day, the Bar, the Revival, Lucha House Party's doing a thing.
A good Lucha thing.
That's right. I thought they had more. They have Sanity. I don't know where they disappeared to. They had the Good Brothers, but they disappeared. You know, they have these teams. It's just they don't want to utilize them because, and this is one of those, it has to be Vince and whoever's heavily in charge, because you can't tell me Michael Hayes is going to ignore tag teams. You can't tell me the Road Dogg and Tyson Kidd are going to ignore tag teams. That has to be like a Vince mandate of they don't matter. They are garnish around the stake of whatever the main event is.
And clearly Triple H doesn't hate tag teams either because of the way that NXT is.
Yeah.
So it's Vince McMahon doesn't really value it. And you can tell that when he gets somebody who's the tag team champions that are like two single stars that he's interested in, suddenly the tag team division gets a boost. And, you know, the Shield gets the tag titles. Well, then suddenly, hey, it's this big thing, and we're going to have all these like tag team matches that are going to revolve around that. And shouldn't you guys be really interested because the tag team titles are on the line? And then once it goes down to let's focus on our single stars, then the tag team division goes to hell. And 2018 has been a terrible year for the Raw tag team division. SmackDown has just been kind of existing based off of resting on the laurels of the Usos and the New Day. And
the Usos?
Did I say the Usos?
The Usos and the Uday is what you just said.
I'm really tired. I hope that the Usos, not the Usos, win the titles here just for something quote unquote different, because we've seen it with the Bar and that's just kind of, oh well, I'm over that. And I don't know about as far as WrestleMania goes. That Miz and Shane thing, it depends on how many other matches are on the card. I don't know if they're going with a singles feud or if they're going with the tag titles. If they are going with the tag titles, it wouldn't shock me at all if the bar retains here, because they want Shane and Miz to be like a tweener type of tag team, and the bar needs to play the heels. But I don't know.
The bar typically drops it to these ridiculous teams, huh? Because they dropped it to Nicholas, didn't they?
Yep. And they lost to Hardy and Wyatt. Which, I mean, it's more legitimate of a tag team than Nicholas, but, Well, we have other tag team kind of things to talk about here that's slightly different. The Mixed Match Challenge Tournament Finals, where the winning team will get an all-expenses-paid vacation to anywhere in the world, and the number 30 entry spots in the Royal Rumble matches. And who are the people competing for those coveted 30th entry spots?
Tony, build up the suspense. Build it up. This is an important match.
I mean, this was a tournament that included the likes of Finn Balor and Bayley and Braun Strowman and
Charlotte Flair
and AJ Styles
and AJ Styles and then Jeff Hardy somehow.
Well, we had a million replacements on here, and I've lost track of all of them. There was Sasha Banks was replaced. Braun Strowman was replaced. Charlotte got a new tag team partner in Jeff Hardy. Apollo Crews had to fill in for Finn Balor. Kevin Owens had to get filled in by Bobby Roode. Almost every tag team had some kind of a switch, except
for Miz and Asuka.
Well, except for these two, too. Because our finals come down to MahAlicia, Jinder Mahal, and Alicia Fox, and the fabulous truth of R-Truth and Carmella. Those are the potential number 30 entry spots in the Royal Rumble.
So, before I just, say the obvious, on Raw, they did say that if Alicia Fox wins and gets to go anywhere in the world with Jinder Mahal, she wants to go to Kentucky. So I kind of hope they get to go to Kentucky. But, obviously this is going to R-Truth and Carmella because they're the only two that I've heard reference the all-expenses-paid trip. And I just get a kick out of the idea of every time that buzzer goes off, R-Truth is coming out and they're like, no, it's not, you're number 30, go back. And then when number 30 comes out, you actually get the Rock. Like,
see, that's the thing. I think specifically R-Truth and Carmella aren't going to win this because there's some other element to this that prevents them from being the number 30 entries, which is the dance break. Because WWE loves to do this thing, and I don't fault them for it. I think that it can be fun sometimes, where at a certain point in a Royal Rumble, they want to do something that just breaks the tension. And we've had in the past, like in Royal Rumble 2000, we had Rikishi and Too Cool do the dance. And we've had the Drew Carey spot with 2001, I think it was, right?
Yep.
The Mick Foley Santino Marella Cobra versus Socko fight.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite moments that entire year of anything that had happened.
Was
they
that
do
12?
this
Was that 2012?
2000
Yeah, 2012, I feel like it was.
Yeah.
11 or 12, something like that. Yeah, they do this kind of stuff, and they have different Royal Rumble situations where they'll have somebody, like run through a bunch of people, and then somebody does like a big spot, or they'll have like everybody gets eliminated and there's one person sitting there. Like, they do these kind of reset type of moments just to do something a little bit different. And you can't have R-Truth and Carmella come out at number 30 and do a dance break.
Well,
because you've already done that. Like, you've already done the whole everything. If you do the dance break at number 30, you're doing a break after everything's already done. But if you do the dance break
on the floor, they can do it.
but it's not going to mean as much as if they had, like, at number 17, they do the dance break.
Well, it doesn't mean much anyway. It's a fucking dance break, but...
Yeah, but Vince loves this shit, you can tell, because they keep doing it. So
that's why he's going to give him the number 30 spot, because in the build-up to the match itself, there'll be loads of promos and segments with R-Truth involved doing dance breaks. Like, what's the entertainment value of Jinder Mahal being the number 30 for the Men's Royal Rumble? The number 30 spot was meant to, at least historically in the past, be the super exciting, oh my god, who's actually going to be number 30? Oh my god, it's Rey Mysterio. I really hate this show. Oh my god, it's Roman Reigns. Really hate this show. Oh, it's Jinder Mahal. God, I hate this show before I even knew that it was going to happen, because you knew what it was going to be going in. It's like you just choosing Jinder Mahal to be the number 30 of the Royal Rumble is essentially saying, okay, so we're going to be exciting for 29 picks, then Jinder Mahal's going to come out, and then he'll be eliminated really quickly, and then we'll just get back on with proceedings.
We'll see that is where I think if you want to do a replacement, you can get away with it more with Jinder Mahal.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that if you want to do something like Jinder Mahal gets taken out backstage and do a replacement, whether it's like The Rock, Roman Reigns, whoever's available to do that stuff, then fair enough. But I think the R-Truth thing is intriguing in the sense that it's that little just hopes moment. He could be the Santino of 2011 or whatever, where we think he's been eliminated, but he hasn't actually been eliminated, and he's trying to sneak it in as well. And he deserves it after the year that he's had. He's had such a good year. He's been so entertaining, like, consistently. And Carmella's, like, really turned the corner as well. Like, I hated her women's championship reign. I thought she was terrible as a heel. But she's entertaining as, like, this double act with R-Truth, and she's really good as a babyface.
I like the idea of, like, let's just say that it comes down to R-Truth, and I'm looking for a super serious wrestler, so I'm just going to say The Undertaker. And, like, R-Truth thinks he's got him, and they just start doing a dance break, and just, like, lights out, lights on, Taker throws him out the ring, and Taker wins the Royal Rumble. I'm not saying The Undertaker will win the Royal Rumble. I just like the idea of the dumb shit that you could do with R-Truth all night long.
I'd be really excited, like, if R-Truth just comes into the Royal Rumble number 30, starts cleaning house on everybody, then just hits a dance break, and then someone throws him out immediately afterwards. I just find that hilarious at the end of the Royal Rumble.
And I think, like, we'll have a better idea of what's really happening by the way that they structure these two Royal Rumbles, and if they put the men on last, then you know it's going to be somebody major like The Rock. And The Rock, by the way, would do fantastically being goofy with R-Truth. Well, I'm not the biggest Rock fan, but he's great at comedy, and I would have a good time with that. So yeah, I hope Fabulous Truth wins it. And then they go all around the world, so they can go to, like, imagine them in, I don't know, India, because that's where Mahal would have went. Like, well, Jinder already booked these tickets because he thought he was going to win, but I guess we got him now, and we're in India. You know?
Yeah, at the very least, those segments would be far more entertaining with R-Truth and Carmella than Jinder Mahal and Alicia Fox, although Alicia Fox is pretty entertaining.
And then it's like the 4 weeks building up to the Rumble, and they're not even there. They're just going all around the world, you know?
Actually, can we? I mean, I know we're discussing, like, the potential permutations about this, but can we get to the real crux of the matter? What the fuck are these two teams doing in the final of this tournament?
Because
have we really discussed that?
It meant nothing.
It can't possibly be what the plan was.
They had no idea what the plan was. It's obvious they had no fucking... Well, I think they did have a plan, and then Roman Reigns got taken out. And so they need to put Braun Strowman back into... Because I realistically believe that the main event, or one of the main events of TLC, was meant to be Drew McIntyre against Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. And they had to just flip everything around. Like, Finn Balor had to be taken out because he's facing Drew McIntyre at the event, and Braun Strowman's now in a main event match as well, and he might have just been... I assume him and Alexa Bliss or Ember Moon, whoever was going to be his partner at the end of the day, was going to be in the final of this tournament.
Yeah,
It was originally Alexa Bliss.
Yeah,
'Cause
so
they
I
had
think
reformed those two.
yeah, so I think fundamentally they did the second mixed match challenge, obviously to get the hits on Facebook Live and stuff like that, but to put Braun Strowman and Alexa Bliss as the winners, and then they get the number 30 spots, because it makes sense that both of them would get number 30 in the Royal Rumble. And then once
Monday night,
See, part of me thinks that they didn't have this number 30 thing at all until they pretty much announced it.
Potentially.
But up until Monday night, I thought Balor had a good shot because you can do the Demon at number 30. How good would that be?
Well, it'd be quite a really lengthy entrance into the. But...
Didn't Bayley have the number 30 entry last year too?
Oh, she did, didn't she?
No, Trish.
Oh yeah, it was Trish. Oh yeah, she was 29. Bayley was 29.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, lucky number 29. But yeah, I mean, either way, it's going to be underwhelming in terms of who number 30 is, unless it does do the switch up, like you say, Tony. But for the sake of just having fun segments in the build up to it, and the team that I think has done better work throughout the year, I'd probably just go with Fabulous Truth for this one. And also, I'm really upset that I have to talk about a Jinder Mahal pay-per-view match. I really was hoping I could just wait until WrestleMania Battle Royal would be the next time I spoke about one of his matches. It's really distressing.
Yeah, I think that we're going to look back on this and we're going to go, they really shouldn't have done this at all.
I think we're already looking at it like that, don't you?
Yeah, but I think we're really going to be disappointed with the whole 30th entry spot thing. And Royal Rumbles have been pissing people off. Like, I don't know what it is about this recently, but they haven't had a Royal Rumble that went over pretty well for a while, because even last year, or well, this year technically still, we had Asuka and Shinsuke Nakamura, and they both were pretty well received, and neither of them won the championship, and they both fell down the card, and it just became a wash. And we've had plenty of instances of, like, Roman Reigns wins when people want Daniel Bryan to win, Batista wins when people want Daniel Bryan to win, so on and so forth. I think we're in for another shitty Royal Rumble. And I think that if you go with either of these teams, it's not going to be... Oh, well, that's not even a word, but I was going to say it's not going to be a whelming, because it's going to be underwhelming, finish to these Royal Rumble things, because it's going to be like, all right, the number 30 spot, who is it? Oh, wait, we already know. It's R-Truth. Or, you know what I mean? Like, it's just... I'm hoping that Jinder Mahal and Alicia Fox win just so they can replace Jinder Mahal and do something fun. And that's literally the only reason why. The dance break thing, that's a reason why I think that they won't book that, but they might be weird enough to do that, and I think that that's a mistake too. If you do a dance break at number 30, it's especially 2 dance breaks at number 30, then it's going to seem like, well, who booked this shit? Like, you know, you do it at like number 10 and number 22 or something like that.
See, I think Carmella gets the dance break, and I think R-Truth gets the whole... I really do think the whole thing is going to be every time that buzzer goes off, R-Truth is coming out. And then when it's number 30, he doesn't come out, and then we get the big reveal of whoever it is.
If they do that, I'll probably be okay with it. But if they just have... you run through 29 people, all the surprises are over with, and then R-Truth does a dance break. And then you run through the 29 women, no surprises left, and Carmella does a dance break. That's going to be annoying as shit.
I mean, it could be something where, because R-Truth is has a few screws loose, you could do a situation where he just gets tricked out of his number 30 spot.
Like he trades it for whoever has number 1?
Yeah, or something like that. You just have like some random superstar saying, "Oh, I traded my number," or like, "Oh, he got me these, got me some ice cream," or something like that, and so I'm pretty happy where I am. You could do something like that. I think it's because R-Truth, it's not the sense that he doesn't have any credibility, but he's kind of just like comic relief. So
I'd be okay if they did something like, you know, those little tumblers that they pick the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be okay with a pre-show segment where somebody like The Miz, because The Miz would do something like this, picks their number, and looks all like, like, God damn it, kind of a thing. And R-Truth is backstage, and he just starts laughing. He goes, like, like, oh, man, like, that sucks or whatever. Then the guy goes, well, I got a better number than you do. And Truth is like, oh, yeah, well, you want to trade? Like, they could do something like that. and I'd be okay with it if they did that. Although I still think that the Carmella dance break would need to come earlier. Like, that's still, like, those two with the dance break thing, if they're going to do it, I think it needs to come before the number 30 thing to be effective. But who knows what they have planned other than Flair or Lynch. Like, I think that's literally the only thing that they have planned right now. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But I'm going MahAlicia. You guys are going Fabulous Truth?
Yep.
All right, well, I'll be the
We
different
spent
one.
way too much fucking time on the Mixed Match Challenge final.
We spent more time
than
than they did.
Yeah,
for sure. Let's go to the WWE Championship match. This is something I found really funny. On the Twitter graphics that they've been putting up, which the Twitter graphics are always better than the ones that are on WWE.com. That's why I tend to like you referring to them a little bit more. But they had, the little subtitles of like what these matches are and stuff. So it says like Triple Threat SmackDown Women's Championship TLC match, or like Mixed Match Challenge Tournament Finals, whatever, like that kind of thing, or something like that. Or this thing's a ladder match, this thing's a TLC match, an Intercontinental Championship title match, whatever like that. For the Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles match, they literally have it listed as WWE Championship rematch, which is like, hey, we have a ladder match, a chairs match, a tables match, a rematch. It's like, it's not quite the same fucking thing. And I hate saying this about a Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles match, but I honestly don't care. It's a weird scenario where I know that these two are going to have a good match, and they are two of the best performers, and they're two of my favorites, and it's a match that should matter more, but I don't care, because Daniel Bryan's not losing this championship. I've seen them wrestle 4 times now, I think. So I know essentially what I'm going to get out of it. I don't think that they're going to do anything all that different. There's no gimmick attached to it, which I think that there should have been. And it's just going to be basically the same as what we had gotten on SmackDown before, except Daniel Bryan retains. There's really nothing that's intriguing me about it.
I think these two would do so much better if they had a unified brand. With the way that Raw has gone down, where we don't have Roman anymore, even like Strowman is missing right now, they are getting slighted simply because they are SmackDown. If this was the Raw feud, everybody would be talking about how cool it is that Raw is doing AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan. But people are so preconditioned, and this goes back to last month, where, SmackDown gets their ass kicked at Survivor Series. They're so preconditioned to say SmackDown isn't really what matters, that we're talking about this match for the WWE Championship between two of the best of all time before we're talking about the fucking Elias and Bobby Lashley guitar hanging above the ring match. And I think that's wrong. But I also don't see Daniel Bryan losing here, and I think this is just a means to an end, because I see AJ Styles as a favorite in the Royal Rumble itself.
Obviously it should be a very good match. It's hard to, because I look at most of these matches and say, oh, this is going to be a good match, because the major thing that's not wrong with WWE is not the wrestlers and the wrestling itself, because they have some of the most talent that they've ever had on the roster, and a lot of their people are really, really good. And this is two of their very best in a match for the WWE Championship. Should be very exciting. I do like the new Daniel Bryan character. Daniel Bryan as a really self-righteous vegan environmentalist is really, really entertaining. And AJ Styles is pretty bland, and I think he has been for most of the year, but he still puts on excellent matches. And the fact that it's a bit more of a grudge match because Daniel Bryan stole the championship should make it entertaining. I don't think it's completely clear cut that Bryan retains the championship here. just essentially for the fact that they might have just switched the title just so it would have been not been AJ Styles and Brock Lesnar again for the championship. You never know what their mindset is because they're not in the right frame of mind of most ordinary people. Well, the guy at the top is, at least, anyway.
If it was just the yes, Daniel Bryan, I would maybe agree with that. But they have invested in this character change.
Yeah, but the character change could benefit from him losing the championship and Daniel just going off the rails even more. I'm essentially basing this along the lines of, if you have AJ Styles and Randy Orton face each other at WrestleMania, I can see that match for the WWE Championship.
Yeah.
In terms of Daniel Bryan, who does he face at WrestleMania for the WWE Championship if AJ Styles and Randy Orton are contained with each other?
You have Rey Mysterio, you have...
But they're not going to do Daniel... I know size doesn't matter so much now, but they're not going to do Daniel Bryan against Rey Mysterio for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania.
It doesn't matter. They're the WWE Championship. They're going on in the middle of the card anyway, because whatever Brock Lesnar does is the real main event.
I know,
well,
but
that's not the main event. The Rousey match is the main event. But...
Yeah, but it's still a sense of like, even though he doesn't care, he still cares. It's like a sense like, okay, well, yeah, this match is like a mid-card match. Oh, but you can't put that guy in because that guy's too small, or that guy's not the right guy to be championship material, or this guy can't be fighting for the WWE Championship. See, with the rumours batting around that Daniel Bryan would face like Shawn Michaels or somebody of a bit more like high level. I would say high level, but somebody like from the old days. You can't really see that match being for the WWE Championship. So I do believe that between now and WrestleMania, Daniel Bryan will drop the championship. It might not be here, it might be at Royal Rumble, but I think AJ Styles still walks into WrestleMania as WWE Champion.
Well, the Styles thing that I think prevents that from happening is the contract stuff. And that's not the end of the world, and we've seen people hold championships while being in contract negotiations and everything. But if that is something that they're still going around, I could see them not wanting to put the title on him just because that gives them a little bit more power in the negotiations and everything. But yeah, I can see a scenario where maybe AJ Styles and Randy Orton is for the title, and Daniel Bryan fights Shawn Michaels in like a special attraction type of match, or Daniel Bryan fights John Cena in a special attraction match because there's really not anything else on that.
Well, that match could be for the title as well.
That could be for the title, for sure, because John Cena, of course, is John Cena. If they do Daniel Bryan versus Rey Mysterio, it could be for the title because they just don't care about the WWE Championship in the grand scheme of things. But I don't think that that's going to happen. And for all intents and purposes, they could have Daniel Bryan versus Rey Mysterio for the United States title.
Yeah.
So
it just doesn't feel like a good story. It sounds like a great match, but it doesn't feel like a good story.
I ultimately just feel like Daniel Bryan got this title and they did the whole heel turn, and it's too fast for them to drop the title to somebody who's doing the contract negotiation type things and just had a year-long title reign. So it's just sort of, maybe they don't have plans yet for Daniel Bryan, but I think that they're going to look at that as, we'll figure it out. We're WWE. We're great. Even if they don't.
If they decide to do Cena versus Bryan, and I think a lot of this will depend on all of that stuff with The Rock and whether or not there was any validity to that, and they decide to do the Brock Lesnar thing. Cena versus Daniel Bryan would be a very good WrestleMania match, and especially with now you have this like bitter heel Daniel Bryan. I would love the idea of Bryan and Cena having a promo, and Bryan just says, "You think I'm pretentious? You made me get dressed for dinner in your house." You know what I mean? Like they can do that kind of stuff because they have that personal history. I don't think AJ Styles needs that title anymore. Not as much as the new Daniel Bryan character does.
Yeah, and I think that whether he wins by making Styles tap or he pins him, Bryan wins.
I'll go with Bryan winning. It's the safest bet out of the two.
So I'm going to lump these two together because they do have implications. And that is the Raw and the SmackDown Women's Championship matches. The Raw Women's Championship match is Ronda Rousey defending against Nia Jax, and the SmackDown Women's title match is a TLC match, triple threat. It's Becky Lynch defending against Charlotte Flair and Asuka. Here's my kind of too long didn't read. Becky Lynch versus Nia Jax at WrestleMania. Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania. Asuka's in the Battle Royal. And I think people are underselling WWE's stubbornness when it comes to Charlotte Flair, because so many people are just going, well, it's obviously Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania. But it isn't, obviously, because WWE loves Charlotte Flair. And they literally did the way that they did Survivor Series to set up that they can do another Charlotte Flair Ronda Rousey match. I can't, under any circumstances, imagine it working out well with them doing Charlotte just suddenly gets a match against Ronda Rousey at the Royal Rumble or something like that. And then Becky Lynch drops the championship and wins the Royal Rumble and fights Ronda Rousey solo in the main event of WrestleMania. It's not happening. They're either going to do Rousey versus Lynch versus Flair, or they're going to do Rousey versus Flair. And there's so many different things that can happen, and there's, injuries can change things up and different things like that. But in my mind, it's less work to just have Becky retains here, Rousey retains. At the Royal Rumble, the champions last year didn't have matches. Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair didn't defend their titles. So you can have that champion versus champion match. Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch never got their match at Survivor Series, and they can be booked against each other at the Royal Rumble. Charlotte Flair wins the Royal Rumble, because remember, Charlotte Flair wasn't in the Royal Rumble last year, and they want to give Charlotte Flair every single achievement that they can. So she needs to win a Royal Rumble. She's going to at some point. And then that gives her the ability to go over to Raw to challenge Rousey. Now, the reason I say Becky Lynch and Nia Jax at WrestleMania is because there's no second feud in the women's division that means as much as that. And you can't, under any circumstances, tell me that it's a good idea to do, say, Charlotte Flair versus Asuka at WrestleMania again. Or Becky Lynch versus Asuka. Or Asuka versus Naomi. Or literally anything other than Becky Lynch versus Nia Jax, because they know that there's heat behind that. And I know that Nia Jax is on Raw, and that would be like, how does she get over to SmackDown? But they change things up all the time, and they could just do something as stupid and simple as Nia Jax forces her way into the Elimination Chamber. And then that's just, she wins the Elimination Chamber and fights Becky Lynch. They could do that very easily. And I know Becky Lynch versus Nia Jax is not a good match necessarily, but there's no way you're selling me on the idea that Nia Jax beats Ronda Rousey, or that Asuka wins the TLC match, or that Flair wins the TLC match and isn't in the Royal Rumble, isn't in the WrestleMania match or something like that. Like, I can't see Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania happening.
Okay, time to go in with almost the complete opposite of what you were just saying.
Oh, I wanted to do that.
Well, yeah, but it's very rare that me and Tony have this much of a disagreement on something. So I want to take the opportunity when it's presented to me. I think you're dead wrong on a lot of stuff, and I can understand why you're suggesting it, Orvin, because we all are in a bit of a bad place for WWE right now. And I'm not saying this to be optimistic. I literally think that this is the only way they can really go about doing things, in the sense of if they actually, and I know it's the stupid argument of like, oh, they don't care about reactions, or they don't care what the fans think, or anything along those lines. They're setting themselves up for disaster if they do anything differently to what I kind of suggest, I think. And it's the case like I know better than them, but in this case, it's plainly obvious to me, Rob, Tony, anybody else, any fan that's watching, that what should happen on this show, there's zero chance Nia Jax's going to beat Ronda Rousey. I think Nia Jax's going to get squashed, and I think she should. The idea of like the Becky Lynch Nia Jax heat, it doesn't exist anymore. Nia Jax has no heat because Becky Lynch is fine. If Becky Lynch was still injured, she still would have heat. But the fact that Becky Lynch has recovered and will be fighting at TLC means that Nia Jax is now a non-entity. She doesn't mean anything. And that was proven in an episode of Raw, that last episode of Raw during her promo, and the fact that she's booed because she's out there and she's boring and she's wasting everybody's time, but not because she is, like, people hate her because what she did to Becky Lynch, because at the end of the day, it hasn't done anything. The only thing it robbed them of was a Ronda Rousey Becky Lynch match, which everyone is pretty confident that we're still going to get anyway. And even if it doesn't, then the heat's not on Nia Jax on WWE for not booking the most obvious, plain, clear thing they could ever possibly do. What should happen on this show is that either Asuka or Charlotte Flair should win the SmackDown Women's Championship. And I would go with Asuka because she hasn't held it before, and they should use that to build Asuka versus Charlotte Flair again at WrestleMania. Ugh. And then, in the meantime, you have Becky Lynch win the Royal Rumble, last eliminating Charlotte, just to have the tease that, oh my God, they're actually going to have Charlotte win this, and it's actually Becky, and then everyone gets super excited. And then you build that towards the Ronda Rousey-Becky Lynch match for the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania. Charlotte Flair versus Asuka for the SmackDown Women's Championship at WrestleMania, and then Nia Jax is in the Battle Royal because who gives a fuck about that big in-ring piece of shit. Does that cover it, Rob? Or did I steal everything from you, or do you have other points?
I actually think I've gone on record on everything that I've been on lately and said Asuka's winning this TLC match because you can have Charlotte and Becky start the Rumble and be in the Rumble, and that is your biggest story. To take either one of them out of the Rumble is to take a lot out of the Rumble, and I agree, and I can see why Tony is like, it's not happening, but they would be so just beyond stupid to not give you some form of Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch in the same match. Even if they do the thing where Charlotte and Becky last the whole Rumble and they go out at the same time and it's a triple threat, we're getting Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey in the mix at WrestleMania. Now, whether or not Nia Jax is a non-factor by that point all depends on whether or not they have some sort of interaction at TLC. And I think it would be the biggest mistake of the night to not have some sort of interaction between at least two of these four women, because they are the hottest thing going. And I cannot see a situation where we don't have Becky Lynch in the biggest women's match at WrestleMania, because this is what not only fans want to see, but casuals are talking about Becky Lynch. You can't fuck this up. And I mean, I know we're
they so can fuck this up though. Look at WWE. How many things have they done in the past to go out of their way to do the thing that doesn't make any sense just because they prefer one person over somebody else? Like, we knew that Daniel Bryan was the go-to person for WrestleMania 30. And they were like, we want Batista versus Randy Orton. And then it just came down to this, like, you have to literally do it type thing. And then they bent over and they did it. But they had to backtrack and do that. You're never going to sell me on the idea that the whole plan was to put it on, give the Royal Rumble win to Batista and then do this Daniel Bryan fight back thing. That's never was the case.
But people do forget about the fact that they did give Daniel Bryan the title beforehand. They did let Daniel Bryan win the champion. That was Daniel Bryan's fourth world championship reign. So he had held. It's the fact that Becky is now in her obviously second women's championship reign, but they haven't had the match with Ronda yet, and it's so much a case like it's so glaringly obvious. Like with the Batista thing, you can kind of go with the sense of, oh wow, it's a big returning star. Like if there was someone like, oh, Trish Stratus wants to come back and do a women's championship match for Ronda Rousey, then I could kind of say, oh, okay, they've decided that they want to go with like a legendary star against it. If it's just the fact that it's just Charlotte Flair, and I know what they feel about Charlotte Flair, but
yeah, they do.
But they can do the Charlotte Flair Ronda Rousey match another time. And the fact of the matter is that in a year's time, the Becky Lynch Ronda Rousey thing won't be as hot as it is right now. So if they miss it here, they'll never do it, and they will never do it.
That's why I think they do it at Royal Rumble.
But
If
they do it at
women-
Royal Rumble, it will get a negative reaction because it wouldn't be at WrestleMania. People still get excited for it, but they'll say, "Oh, this should be the WrestleMania match," or "This should happen at WrestleMania." Charlotte Flair will get like mercilessly booed for assumingly winning the Royal Rumble off the back of that, especially because if it happens at Royal Rumble, Ronda Rousey wins, and people know that going into the match that Ronda Rousey wins. Whereas if it happens at WrestleMania, even if Ronda Rousey does end up winning that match, there'll still be the hope that Becky Lynch can win, which makes the match more exciting.
I honestly I think that that's playing into their hand. I think that they we were talking about this before, but in the past, and Pritchard's podcast, Something to Wrestle With, gives a lot of insight to how Vince McMahon books. If he thinks something, he thinks everybody thinks that. He thought that he was a babyface, that when he was saying Brett screwed Brett, that people would cheer that, and that people didn't see him as the owner of the company. He thought in all regards that somebody like a Hulk Hogan needed the championship and then other people didn't need the championship, or that John Cena getting booed, it didn't matter because he still got a reaction. And look at the way that they've booked Roman Reigns. He wanted Roman Reigns to be in the main event. He didn't care that it was glaringly obvious that people were booing him. To his mind, it was like, well, people are going to really like this Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns thing to happen again. And then let's have Brock Lesnar win again, and then let's go, hey, but we're going to do that again, because isn't it going to be like, wow, they get to fight for like the 15th time. They've had such a bitter rivalry. Like, they get swept up in this kind of thing where if he likes something, he thinks that everybody else loves it just as much. And I feel like they do that with Charlotte Flair. And if they do Becky and Ronda, he feels the same about Ronda too. And I do not put it past Vince to be in a scenario where he thinks, yeah, but it's great that Charlotte Flair, that Ronda Rousey beats Becky Lynch, because then people are going to go nuts that she beat her, and then they're going to really want to see Charlotte Flair beat Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania, and then that's what happens. And that'll really put Charlotte Flair over as the babyface, and I really honestly think that that's the case. Because also, if you go with Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey, Charlotte and Asuka at WrestleMania, it's just a repeat of last year, and nobody's going to give a shit. And if you go with Charlotte and Becky and Ronda at WrestleMania, the SmackDown Women's title match might as well not even happen, because there's nothing you can do. Asuka versus anybody is just not going to matter. The only way you're selling me on that is if their plan is that they don't have a women's battle royal and that they have Asuka defend the women's title in a battle royal. That's the only way you're selling me on it, and they're not going to do that.
I kind of just wholly disagree with that. I know Asuka's lost a lot of her steam since coming up to the main roster, as most people from NXT do. But you kind of hear the reaction that she still gets from people. People are still really, really into her, despite everything. Maybe just due to the fact that she's been pushed down so far, people have gotten more into her. It seems to be like this weird relationship WWE has with its fans. The more they push people down the card, the more people actually get excited about them because they hate the fact that they're being pushed down the card. So, and I'll fight anyone on this topic, that Asuka versus Charlotte Flair was the best match of WrestleMania 34. I know Ronda Rousey's match was the most exciting, but in terms of just an overall match quality, that was the best match at WrestleMania 34. And I think they could do it again at WrestleMania 35, just with a slight role reversal. And even though, yeah, Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey will be the big show, will be the big match, and it will take some shine away from this. Well, it definitely won't be that, but definitely it'll take some shine away from the women's match. Like Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey, if it happens, will take the shine off every other match at WrestleMania, because that will be the only match people will care about. Not to everyone, but like that'll be the big match of the show.
I also feel like Charlotte Flair, in their mind, and in reality to a certain extent, has more crossover media appeal than Becky Lynch does. And that's going to be the thing that matters more. Then they can.
She probably does, but like I say, with Charlotte Flair is a constant. Charlotte Flair is someone that you could go to any point in time and put a big match on. I think it's something that Becky Lynch lacks in the fact that Becky Lynch is like a big star at the moment, and I don't know how long that will last. It could last for a really long time. I hope it does, but you have to capitalize it on now. Whereas with Charlotte Flair, you could have her face Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania 36, and it will have the same amount of attention or an appeal as it would do at 35.
I guess it kind of comes down to this. My cynicism and my lack of trust in WWE makes me go, I think that you guys and everybody else that is thinking that it's a guarantee that it's Becky and Ronda, that you're kind of
giving them too much credit.
Yeah, you're giving them a little bit too much credit, and you're going with like well, it's obvious that everybody loves this from kind of like the IWC perspective sort of thing, and not the Vince thing. You know what I mean?
I totally understand your cynicism. And to be fair, if and when this does blow up in our faces and we do get a situation where Charlotte wins the Royal Rumble and she's going to be facing Ronda Rousey, and you'll say, well, told you so. And I won't be listening because I'll be too busy like crying into my pillow or something like that. That's true. How much I hate this product and why am I even watching this shit anymore and stuff like that. But it's not a case of just trying to be optimistic. I legitimately, in my mind, and I'm trying to get in the mind of Vince McMahon, it's difficult because I need to bash my head in a few times or something like that, or like take 50 acid tablets or something along those lines to get into the mindset of it. But I can't see any other alternative than what I'm thinking is going to happen, because it's just too easy to do.
Here's a really good one that I've been trying to see how they could make work other than a situation where they're merging the two women's titles. I like the idea of doing a tournament-like scenario where you get Becky versus Nia for one belt. Then you have Charlotte versus Ronda, and then the winner of those matches are slated to fight each other. And then you get everything.
Well, you still have Nia involved. I'm genuinely of the belief that Nia's completely lost all the heat that she attracted by it, just due to the fact that Becky Lynch just dusted it off and got back on with her job. I think Nia Jax will be a non-entity come WrestleMania time.
So you know what? The way that she has been doing that whole shrieking into the microphone thing, I think proves that differently. Because she did that last week, and then they must have told her to do that again this week. And I think that that's just Vince and company going, hey, we like that, do that. That's great. You're really pissing people off. I mean, I'll put it this way, actually. WWE lost all credibility for me as far as giving them the benefit of the doubt when they put that title on Brock Lesnar instead of Braun Strowman. That to me was like, okay, you're just going to do what you like and nothing else. And they like Charlotte Flair better than Becky Lynch. It's more than obvious that they do. It's years of that. So I'm going Ronda Rousey retains, Becky Lynch retains. And I think that Asuka is strictly in the match to take bumps.
You go ahead, bro.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm going Rousey obviously retains. There's zero doubt about that one. That's the most easiest result you can pick on the entire card. And I'm going with Asuka winning the SmackDown Women's Championship.
And before I give my final prediction, I want to say I think what people are delusional about is the headlining WrestleMania thing. If this thing with The Rock is any way real, I don't care if it's historic and it's the first woman. Ronda will have to wait till next year because there's no one headlining over Rock and Brock Lesnar.
I also don't think that that's happening.
Yeah, same.
I don't think The Rock's happening.
We'll see when we get to January. But my prediction is Ronda wins, hopefully in 5 seconds, and Asuka walks away the SmackDown Women's Champion.
So now we talked about those two in conjunction, and I actually feel like we kind of need to talk about 4 other matches in conjunction, which is it's a fucking TLC card. This card's ridiculous. But we have Elias and Bobby Lashley in a ladder match, which by the way, if you know the rules of a ladder match, it's typically you climb up the ladder and you retrieve something, and that's how you win. Well, in this one, you climb up the ladder and you retrieve a guitar, and whoever gets the guitar can use it. Which means it's a fucking no DQ match, and why wouldn't you just beat the shit out of the person with the goddamn ladder?
Can I just point out this one? Who actually here thinks that the person who grabs the guitar from the ring will actually be the one to use the guitar?
My hand's down.
Yeah, mine too.
Because I'm assuming that Lio Rush grabs it or something stupid, and ultimately it doesn't matter.
Well, if Lio Rush grabs it, then he's just going to drop it in Elias's hands, and that's how Elias wins.
I think it's going to be a scenario where Elias climbs it up, grabs the guitar, then he's about to swing for Lashley, gets distracted by Lio Rush. Lashley hits a spear, so the guitar isn't even involved in the finish, really. Then
it would not surprise me if that's the case.
Then he pins him, and then Elias hits Lio Rush with the guitar post-match. In a sense, the Dodo will try and base it as wow, he just got his heat back, whereas actually it will just make both guys look worse going into Raw. But that's
that match might not even happen. It's the thing too, because there's Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre, and Finn Balor, there were rumors that he was injured. It turns out that some reports are saying he's not injured. He's actually got some kind of a sickness going on, some kind of, I don't know, the flu or something like that, I guess, and that he should be quote unquote good to go. But maybe that's going to factor in. I don't know. Ultimately, I would assume Drew McIntyre is the guy that they're protecting. Finn Balor is not going to beat him in a match, but we'll come back to that. And we have the quote-unquote TLC match between Baron Corbin and Braun Strowman, which, if you go with the reports of what's happening with this, Braun Strowman may not even be able to compete, and if he is able to compete, it may be a squash, which completely flies in the face of a TLC match, because if he isn't able to compete, it's not a TLC match because Baron Corbin wins by forfeit. If he is able to compete in a squash, they're not going to do anything to make it a TLC match. He can't, Braun Strowman's not going to be falling off the fucking ladder and stuff like that. And we have the Intercontinental Championship match between Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. This is what I could see being a scenario. We have 12 matches on this card. That is way too many matches to realistically give them all the regular amount of time. And the regular amount of time, if I remember correctly, is 8 minutes per match, for average or so, on an 8 or 9 match card. And you can't add 3 or 4 more matches onto there and give them all 8 or 9 minutes and have it work the same. They're not going to cut out promos. They're not going to make 3 matches happen on the pre-show. It's just not happening. So it wouldn't shock me at all if there's some kind of thing that happens where Baron Corbin ends up with, he's trying to get a whole forfeit situation going, and Finn Balor and Elias and Dolph Ziggler, because they've been setting up this whole thing with Ziggler and McIntyre, they do Balor, Elias, and Ziggler against Lashley, McIntyre, and Corbin in a TLC match. And Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose is the main event. Or the TLC match thing is the main event. Or Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Asuka is the main event.
That's got to be the main event.
Or, and this is another thing that might be the case, they go with Elias against Bobby Lashley. They go with Finn Balor against Drew McIntyre, and they're just really quick matches overall. Baron Corbin does beat Braun Strowman by forfeit, and there's some kind of a brawl segment where everybody starts coming out and fighting and whatever like that, and maybe Seth Rollins gets involved, and maybe Baron Corbin goes, well, as my first act as general manager, your match against Dean Ambrose is going to be a TLC match. And they make that a TLC match, and that's why Dean Ambrose wins the title. Because there's McIntyre and Lashley and Corbin all on the outside, too.
No.
This is going to be an overbooked mess, I think, between these 4 matches.
there's a couple of issues with your logic there. First being, they bothered to continue to book 3 separate singles matches well after we already knew there was a good shot that Strowman doesn't come. They bothered to make the Lashley Elias match a ladder match, which is fucking stupid, but whatever. I don't see them switching gears too much, except I could see Seth Rollins pull double duty because they seem to like him right now as the guy on Raw.
Gotta set him up for WrestleMania.
I'm not convinced that that's happening at Mania. I hope it does, because I'd much rather see a potential Seth Rollins victory than a potential victory by The Rock.
Well, let's be honest, Brock Lesnar's keeping that title anyway.
Not if he goes against The Rock.
Yeah, but especially if it goes against The Rock. The Rock's not going to hold that title.
Rock's not going to. They're not going to have Lesnar beat The Rock. No way.
Oh, that's because they're not going to have The Rock at all.
Yeah,
they're going to have Lesnar beat Rollins.
Yeah, is The Rock going to come back at SummerSlam or something and defend the championship? Of course, he's fucking not.
Well, no, but I could easily see him getting a one-off if that's the route that they decide to go. I don't know. We'll get into that later, but I really don't like your idea because it involves more of Corbin, and this needs to die after TLC. This needs to fucking die.
That's the fundamental thing. Yeah.
It's ridiculous, and the way that they're going on about it on commentary is so insulting to our intelligence. Like, remember the whole famous Vince promo where we're tired of insulting your intelligence? Well, this is all that they're doing because they're acting like this has never happened before, where a superstar gets so power drunk that they just do all these stupid decisions, and it needs to die. But as far as I'm concerned, Baron Corbin can go and lose to Heath Slater on main event after this. Not because I don't like Corbin. I've always liked Corbin, but this whole general manager elect thing has just really made me so sour on him and McIntyre and Lashley because they don't belong together. They don't need to be together. They're, you know what? Let's just call it what the fuck it is. This is Russo TNA level booking. Why is there a guitar hanging above the ring? Other than, wouldn't this be funny, bro? Why is there this random 3-man grouping? Why is any of this happening? And yes, December sucks for WWE, and I'm resigned to that. I don't think that the Raws have been as abysmal as people have claimed, but they've been bad just out of sheer laziness. And I just don't want to see it continue. And at this point, not for nothing, I don't even want to see Braun Strowman fight Brock Lesnar. I don't
either,
care.
because he's just going to lose again. He's going to lose for the 7th time.
I don't care. Like, I don't know. I've said that I think if they're so desperate to have a big star, then their best bet is to, bring back Cena for at least the run from Mania to SummerSlam or whatever. But I don't care about Strowman. I don't see Strowman winning. And if Rollins goes up against Lesnar, then I'm going to be too afraid that Rollins is just going to lose. And hold on, because in all of that, I haven't even gotten to the other, 2 matches with Balor and McIntyre. Love Balor. I think it's gotten to the point now where I'm almost reversing my opinion, whereas I thought he was once ridiculously overhyped and overrated by people. I feel so bad for him because he's so clearly popular and they just won't do anything of significance with him. Drew McIntyre is one of my favorites, period. And then you get to this weird fucking Ambrose and Rollins thing where it's like, I could not have imagined hating this idea as much as I do now. They've just completely shit the bed with Ambrose. He's been weird. Like, the thing is, he hasn't added any elements to his character. He's just being extra weird. It's like Dean Ambrose plus cartoon villainy is what we have right now. And I don't know where he goes for WrestleMania because I can't see him
Clusterfuck match.
Yeah, I can't see him doing anything useful. The only way I can see him getting used is if they bring back the concept of the multi-man ladder match.
Or just a fatal 4-way, Ambrose, Balor, Corbin, and Strowman or something.
Ugh. Yeah.
Because they don't care. WrestleMania is not what WrestleMania used to be. WrestleMania is what are the 3 matches we care about, and that's it.
Well,
and then the rest of it's all like, the Intercontinental titles. Look at the Intercontinental title last year. We had the Triple Threat, and then we had for the United States title a Fatal 4-way. And it was just like, well, Rusev is somebody, we should put Rusev in there. We have Bobby Roode, somebody, Jinder Mahal, somebody, we gave him the WWE title, let's put him in there. Like, they don't care.
But you know what? Now that I said cartoon villainy and everything I just said, Ambrose versus Demon Balor, IC title, would probably be the best way to go for WrestleMania.
Not going to happen because Ambrose can't fight Dean.
I mean, what did I say? I said Ambrose versus Balor. No, I said
Ambrose versus Dean and Balor.
Demon Balor.
Oh, I thought you said Dean and Balor. Okay.
The handicap match with him is in his own.
That's why I was just like, if they want to go with the lunatic thing and he's got multiple personality disorder and fights himself, then okay.
It's Ambrose. It's Ambrose and the Demon against Dean and Balor.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. December pay-per-views need to go back to being Armageddon because they tried like the too hard. Well, yes, and they tried too hard to cram these stipulations in. And for some reason, with the last few years, TLC is always the one that gets fucked up. Always. And I don't know why they insist upon doing it. And I can't even give you a prediction because I don't know what match we're talking about here.
That's the thing is, do they do these 4 matches or do they somehow not do some of them, or do they, because pay-per-views can change. The card's always subject to change, and they could do something weird. Like this Braun Strowman thing, it's strange to me that it's a TLC match. Because what are they going to do if he can't compete, really?
What's fucking strange is that they booked the match knowing the man was going in for surgery. They knew what they were doing. I don't understand. Like, logically, and I'm giving them way too much credit here, but I have to assume that Strowman's ready to go, and that they know that because they booked him in this match. They continue to promote this match. I have to assume he's ready to go.
Well, again, I just call back to things like, oh, we're going to have Austin, Triple H, and The Rock in a triple threat match at Survivor Series. Oh, wait, Austin gets run down by a car at the start of the show. But we promoted this entire triple threat match for the entire time building up to it, and we decided to fuck our fans over at the last minute because they had already bought the pay-per-view and couldn't do anything about it.
Yup, that's it. See, that's why I don't buy into the Becky Lynch thing, because it's like it seems like they should go a certain way, or that they're planning on going a certain way, and then they just kind of go like, ha, we swerved you, isn't that fun and interesting?
More
and
than
it's like
Russo TNA nonsense. Ha, we swerved you, bro. We gotcha. Go ahead.
I need to break down all this stuff now because there's a lot of matches and I haven't had my chance to have my say about this one, so I'll just try and be as quick as possible. Elias Bobby Lashley is going to be it's just going to be a match with I hate matches where something's suspended that you have to use. It doesn't make any real sense, and it just means that in the build up to it, it's just a little bit like dull. And these are two people that shouldn't be involved in any sort of ladder match whatsoever, so not looking forward to that one. Balor vs McIntyre, if it happens, should be fine. I don't imagine it will go too long. It could be the sort of thing that I could see Balor getting a sneak win and they extend it forward towards Royal Rumble or something like that, but who knows. The Braun Strowman Baron Corbin match, I'm going to take at least the assumption that I think Braun Strowman will be fine and has to win this match. But I imagine that if he is fine and he's not 100% healthy, then it will just be a case of about 5 minutes of him just throwing Baron Corbin through different like tables and chairs and ladders and stuff like that, and it'll just be, well, as entertaining as they can try and make it. It will just be Baron Corbin getting beaten up for 5-6 minutes and Braun Strowman taking no damage. But it could be interesting. But like Rob said, you need to end the Baron Corbin general manager thing. And I'm saying that with the knowledge that, oh wow, Alexa Bliss is going to be general manager after that, and we're just going to have another heel in charge of all this shit, and it's just going to be, it's just a different person who's
more of the same.
Yeah, it's somebody who's better on the microphone and better to look at, but it's still the same shit of just like, oh, we got a heel in charge, yay. I mean, she won't be so much like a control freak in power because she couldn't get physically involved with the men like Baron Corbin can. But it'll be the same thing for the women's side of things, but the men's stuff will just go through pretty much like as normal. And then Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins. Dean Ambrose is such a bad, like, he has done a complete, I don't even say like 180. I didn't really care too much about him when he came back, but he's just so useless. It's so obvious that he was the worst part of the Shield now.
Isn't that weird? Because everybody was so crazy about him at the first.
Yeah,
like,
and he's so bland. He's so like the crazy Dean Ambrose. He's really just a freak. Like, there's a difference between being like crazy and unpredictable and a lunatic, but he's just like he's like the weird guy that sits at the back of the bus picking his own toenails and something like that, really, rather than.
That's like an oddly specific thing.
Yeah.
Was there a dude that you came across in school that did that?
It's been a long recording. My mind's going a little bit crazy, but yeah, I hate the fact that he's doing like these "you people" promos with Daniel Bryan. It makes sense because his whole gimmick was based around the people cheering for him. This feud was so simple to go because it should be so deeply rooted and personal between Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. But now Dean Ambrose is wearing gas masks and saying, "Oh, I don't want to go to this city because this city smells. I'm going to get an injection in my ass so I don't get cholera when I go to your city or whatever." It's just like, God, you suck so much. Why don't you, like, if there's one, I don't want to say like one person I'd want to get rid of the roster and stuff like that, but he just needs to go away for a while. And he just came back after like months being out injured, and I want him to go away again. And like, Seth will carry the match because Seth is great and Seth deserves to be in a better match than this. Let's put it that way. Also, I do think it's quite stupid that they decided to do a TLC match on Raw just before an actual TLC match, which does give the impression that the TLC match we're going to get on this show isn't really going to be a TLC match.
Yeah, I think it was a statement that Strowman is either A, not going to be there, or B, it's going to be very light. Because I want to give you a TLC match, and you will get it, but you'll get it on Raw.
Yeah, and also,
there's the women's one.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, obviously that one would be the good one, but in the sense of like, isn't it stupid that you have the person who's also going to be in a TLC match on the TLC card lose a TLC match to someone who's going to be in a singles match on the thing? It just doesn't seem to. Obviously, they decided to put the Intercontinental title on the line, so they couldn't have Corbin win it, but it just seemed a little bit ridiculous.
Well, the more reason why I think that there's going to be something kind of weird that happens here. And that's why Rollins loses the title to Dean Ambrose, which I don't think is a good idea in the grand scheme of things. I'd actually rather see Rollins retain and then Dean Ambrose screw Rollins on an episode of Raw to somebody else. But that's why I could also see Baron Corbin winning too, because keep in mind, Alexa Bliss might be cleared to compete at some point. And if they have her cleared for like Royal Rumble or so, then even she as general manager wouldn't be something that would last all that long. They might have some other kind of thing in mind. Like they might, this sounds stupid, but this might be something that we need to actually think about. They might have it in mind to do this Drew McIntyre thing with the medals and humiliating Kurt Angle is going to come back. And they're going to do Drew McIntyre versus Kurt Angle at some point. It might be at WrestleMania. But that might not be a singles match at WrestleMania. It might literally be Baron Corbin and Drew McIntyre against Braun Strowman and Kurt Angle at WrestleMania. For Kurt Angle wins, he gets control of Raw again. Baron Corbin wins, and Kurt Angle's gone from WWE or something like that. That literally might be what they planned.
Moving forward, Callum will be the host of SmackDown. Cody's not allowed to talk.
I don't want that responsibility.
It's scary to think about that, isn't it?
Yeah, it hurts because you're so like right in that is definitely a potential option. I would say like wouldn't it just be nice? And I know I'm taking like a Rob side of things by saying this because I know this is just so overly optimistic that it's totally not happening. Would it be nice just to have a general manager who's a babyface or just a neutral guy or girl that isn't isn't treated like a bitch by Stephanie McMahon every opportunity? Wouldn't that just be a good thing to have for a little while? Even for a couple of months or anything like that.
I'd be cool with just no general manager.
I'd be cool with the laptop coming back.
Yeah, dude, fucking do that.
Or bring Bob Barker back.
Or do the fan voting thing.
Yeah.
Like
make Nicholas the general manager.
Well, he's already tag team champion. What the hell?
Yeah. But yeah, it's just I mean, should we just go down and just like actually make our predictions for all these ones? Let's go by the assumption that all 4 of these matches are going to take place.
If all 4 matches take place, I think Ambrose, Strowman, McIntyre, Elias.
All right, if all 4 matches take place, I'm going Lashley, Balor, Strowman, Ambrose.
If all 4 matches take place, I'm going Elias, Strowman, Rollins, and McIntyre.
Now, I don't think that that's going to be all 4, so I think it's going to be Rollins loses the title and a team of people beat Baron Corbin, and the team is Elias, Balor, and Ziggler, or something like that. I don't fucking know. Actually, where Baron Corbin wins too, and they just double down on it, and it's like, boo, yeah, fuck you. We also screwed Rollins, and Baron Corbin's still in charge.
At this point, I'm really interested to see what happens, just out of like sheer curiosity. Like
this is the like definition of morbid curiosity.
Yeah.
Sense that you just go in just dreading the death that's going to come off the back of this, because like this, I mean, a lot of these connotations, especially with the Strowman Corbin match, could be like a death knell. Because I know what you guys are saying, it might not have been as abominable as many people thinking, but these Raws have been desperately like boring and really lacking creative. It's not the case of like, oh, Corbin's no longer general manager, Raw saved, because it certainly isn't. But there's no coming back if he's general manager any longer than he currently has been.
It's Royal Rumble season.
Yay!
People will just be like, yeah, I'm interested in the Royal Rumble. I'll watch here and there, you know.
Oh, God.
I just look at TLC and I go, this could be a total mess.
Yeah, the table's going to go everywhere.
For all we know, it could be a fucking great pay-per-view.
That's the thing. Like, match-wise, this looks pretty exciting. Like, a lot of these matches actually look pretty entertaining. But it's just every little bit of bullshit surrounding it is so annoying all the time. It's hard to get excited for it. Like, the build to it is always, well, especially for this pay-per-view, has been utterly terrible on most fronts. But
there's been too many pay-per-views over the course of 2017 and 2018 that have made me go, like, practically start, like, ripping out my hair just while it's happening, going, what the fuck are they doing, kind of a thing. And I think the TLC is going to be one of those.
Yeah, I think I'd go by the assumption. I agree with you in that sense, but there's also the sense of I think there's been too many pay-per-views in 2017, 2018 that have been rescued by great matches to make up for the booking that went into the actual thing and the follow-up to each of those pay-per-views as well. It's like there's too many pay-per-views this year that have been just, on the WWE side at least, that have been just one instance of like, oh, that was a good show, or that was a good night, and then everything else surrounding it is really emphatically bad.
Yeah, it's a weird scenario to be going into the last pay-per-view of the year and being like, well, this could be the worst, or this could be really fucking fun, or, you know, we either have, like, some, you know, A+, like, my God, they ended off the year on a great note, or it was like, oh, look at that, Crown Jewel's not the worst event of the year. Like, this could be, I have no idea, but whatever happens, and we will be talking about what happens on the post-show for this on Sunday night. So the best way that you guys should be aware of when that post-show gets uploaded to YouTube and on iTunes and Stitcher, of course, is to just subscribe all over the place. On YouTube, if you do that, ring that little bell for notifications. If you are unaware of, like, specific timings on some other things, like on iTunes and stuff like that, then make sure that you're subscribing on the Twitter and the Facebook, because that'll give you some kind of an indication of when those things come up. Usually the iTunes and Stitcher feeds come up quicker because it's just less processing that has to be done. But I actually like YouTube better, so I recommend checking that out. The next thing that's going to be happening after that is next week we have the mailbag, the final mailbag of the year. So start sending in your questions pretty much now, essentially. At least start brainstorming them and send them in as soon as you possibly can, because we'll be recording that most likely on that Wednesday. And if I don't remind you guys, then you might forget and stuff. But then after that, we will have the 2018 Smark Out Moment End of the Year Awards. And then we'll be saying all Happy New Year and all the other kind of stuff like that. So stay tuned for all that stuff. If you want to help show your support for Smark Out Moment on the monetary side of things, then hit up the Patreon and the TeePublic and the Redbubble for those different types of merchandise shops. Hit the like button, the share button, and all the other kind of support that you guys can do, as well as leaving your comments below and telling us what you think of TLC 2018, what's going to happen, what are you excited about, what are you nervous about, etc., etc. Check out fanboysanonymous.com for all the content that I have there, including tomorrow night I am seeing in the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, so I'll be putting up a review about that, and who knows what else I'll be doing. So follow me all over the place. On those different platforms, you know where to click. Rob?
WrestleZone.com, your daily source for professional wrestling news, rumors, innuendo, scuttlebutt, all that nonsense. TimekillerApparel.com is my clothing brand. Buy a t-shirt, buy a hoodie, support, and check out this week's Triple Threat, which will be 3 different people breaking down TLC, because, I need a break. And yeah, I think that's it for me. Cal?
Okay, follow me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. I am all over Smock Out Moment this week with a article about the history of the TLC pay-per-view. So you want to see how this match concept in the first place came about, then check out that article. I also did an article about 10 WWE superstars that could potentially jump ship to All Elite Wrestling should that promotion ever come into existence. And then I will also be uploading the power rankings at some point this week, likely the Thursday or Friday. So be sure to check back then. And that's it from me.
That's it for all of us, everybody. Thank you for listening and doing everything else that you do. Unless it sucks, then no, thanks. WWE. Sunday night, that's when we'll be seeing you. So we'll see you then, everybody. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out.